This is Massy Arts Society. We're a nonprofit, Indigenous-owned and led space. And part of our mandate, or a big part of our mandate, is to uplift or hold space for Indigenous and otherwise over-excluded artists, creatives, community members. And what we mean by over-excluded is folks that are generally just not seen as like the norm, like the colonial norm of a person, which is like a white, cis, able-bodied man. And yeah, just give space for community. I think I've been saying this as a lot as the host, but this is like what I've been thinking about with event spaces is I want to help hold space for your grief and your joy and your relationships and everything in between. And that's a big aim. It's a big ask, but I think we can do it together. So welcome to Massy. Before we get started, I have a couple access notes. So we have our one washroom right here. It has a, I keep forgetting the name of it, the bar next to the toilet. Sorry? A grab bar, thank you. But unfortunately, we don't have a push button to open it. So if you need assistance opening the door, feel free to ask. I mean, I'm sure anyone here would be able to help you, but Dax, myself, and Jackie are here specifically to help you as well. Feel free to ask if you need anything else as well. I would like to remind folks that staff on site are Narcan trained and ready to administer that. And our general policy in how I've been trained is that we will call 911, but we'll ask that the police don't arrive. So we also ask that you, that's just a procedure that we're trying for. We also ask, recognizing that we are in the downtown east side and that a lot of our neighbors might be experiencing colonialism in some of the most visceral ways possible. We ask that you don't call the police on our neighbors tonight. As a reminder, if you are not familiar with our neighborhood, it's just a thing that I like to say because I know that sometimes people lean towards fear, but we don't want to make things more difficult for folks than they already are. So with that recognition and with the recognition of the space we're in, I also want to recognize and do a land acknowledgement. So for many of you may know, we are on the unceded, stolen, ancestral, occupied territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. Some of you may also know that we are just steps from Kimikai, which is used to be a harvesting village. It's a Squamish term, which means place of many maple leaves. Keep an eye out for the maples in the neighborhood. Know that the big leaf maples have been here for thousands of years, and so have the people who have stewarded them. When I make land acknowledgements, I really want to be mindful that I'm not just making them as a cursory note to an event. I think that happens a lot when settlers make land acknowledgements, that they're like, this is stolen land, moving on, and I don't want that. So I would like to say that when I acknowledge land, it is a commitment from me at least to work on earning the term accomplice. And for me, that looks like saying that with cash, as my mother says. It also looks on trying to build better relationships with my community members and Indigenous folks in the area, specifically MST people. And it also looks like remaining self-critical. I recognize that I can't speak to anybody else's positionality in this room tonight, so that may look very different for you, but I hope with this acknowledgement comes some reflection, or a reminder for reflection, and a hope that we take that reflection and turn it into inspired anti-oppressive action, whatever your capacity may be. With that, I think that's about it for tonight. My colleague Dax will be recording, but mostly the artist, just letting you know that that's happening in the space. And everything else, I think that's good. Is there anything else I should say? Okay, with that, I would like to open the event. Welcome to Green Glass Ghosts, and read a little bit about our performers tonight. So, Rae Spoon is a musician, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and author. They have released 12 solo albums, Coates Records, spanning folk, country, indie, rock, and electronic genres, and published 3 books with Arsenal Pulp Press. Rae has been nominated for 2 Polaris Prizes and the Western Canadian Music Award. They have toured internationally in Canada, Europe, States, Australia, and China. Rae is a non-binary trans artist who lives with multiple disabilities. And They have also published a humorous booklet, sorry, it jumped around, How to Hide Behind Your Songs, 2017. Their first book, First Spring Grass Fire, 2012, was nominated for a Lambda Literary Award, and the co-write, Gender Failure, 2014, was on Over the Rainbow Project book list and was published in German. Rae's first novel, Green Glass Ghosts, 2021, was illustrated by Jem Hall, who's here tonight, and reviewed by Pull & Choir, CBC, and the Golden Mail. In 2013, Rae was awarded a Dane Oswald Prize Honor of Distinction by the Writers' Trust of Canada and has been known as Wow, the bio jumped around a little too much. My apologies. Welcome, Rae. Also, welcome, Jem. Jem Hall is an interdisciplinary artist interested in the creation of art and music as a means of survival, a language to explore and document stories and songs of resilience, recovery, and the magic of storytelling and witnessing. With a background in DIY/zine culture and queer and trans community organizing, they use ink, watercolor, textiles, and their ancestral practices of harp playing, tarot reading, and plant medicine to hold liminal spaces between worlds and ways of being. Welcome, both of you. I'm so excited for tonight.
I'm only doing it because there's such good COVID protocols here. And I don't know if anyone saw it Insta Live, but I tested this mask today, and it was pretty funny. So anyway, it's a good mask. And so I excited to have Jen here too. I mean, do you want to say anything at the beginning?
Sure, yeah. I'm really excited to be here, and yeah, this is like our first in-person event for this book, and yeah, kind of wasn't sure if that was going to happen, so yeah, it's an honor to be here.
For sure. And yeah, I've been doing immunocompromised accessible shows across Canada, so-called Canada, and that's been, I don't play indoors, I don't sing indoors, although you're going to maybe see me sing indoors today, but I don't do music shows indoors because well, there's ethical reasons, but I also can't do it, so it would just be not a good thing. So, I just decided, well, I'm not going to stop playing music, I'm going to see if I can make space for other folks like me, and then it's always better to make, and also work on other access things in those conversations. So I've been trying to build community with other folks who have disabilities, disabled artists, and so that's what I've been doing, and it's been going really well. I've just been testing it out, and hopefully next year I'll be able to then bring other people. I was like, I gotta see what happens with me first, and then. Anyway, so that's why we're here. That's why I made it out here. I live between Toronto and Montreal, part-time, both places. So, I thought I'd just read the prologue, and I'm gonna read a little bit, and then maybe we'll talk a little. I have a guitar here because I actually compulsively have to sit in between. Anyway, but yeah, so this is the prologue, and then Jem's the reason why we work together. I love your art, so anyway. So of course I was always just looking for an excuse to work with you. But we have similar, exactly, hanging out project. But we have similar sort of stories. We discovered getting to know each other, not the same exact year, but moving to Vancouver from where we were from, not having any blood family and support, just coming here as just young folks looking for our new families. And yeah, it took me 20 years to find mine. But so here we go, here's the prologue. Did you know I said that Mary once threw me out of their house in the middle of the night for saying that Jules' poetry sucks? Sam howled. Sam said, yesterday when I tried to bring up leaving for the first time, Mary dropped my house keys into a full cup of coffee. We laughed until there was a friendly pause. We were at the Denny's near the Banff Trail station in Calgary, where the servers had been letting me drink coffee and smoke since I was 14. A little over a year ago, some friends and I had celebrated the new millennium year by passing champagne bottle with a straw around under the table at midnight. I met Sam through Mary, a mutual ex they'd come to visit for a couple weeks. Mary was the type of person who was filled with love for everyone and really very kind, but a quarter of the time You had to tiptoe around them, or they'd explode on you. Earlier that day, Sam had escaped from Mary's house on a city bus with all of Sam's bags. When they tried to push Sam down the stairs, I probably should have done a warning before this, I'm sorry. Anyway, there's some violence in here, but it's not too in-depth. I apologize. Forgot to lose my own book. Anyway. All Sam did was tell Mary that they had to fly home to Vancouver that night. We leaned over our steaming coffee mugs and chatted conspiratorially, trading stories about the other things Mary had done, our mood bolstered by the narrow escape. We shared the same flaw of returning many times to the people who had caused us harm. Then Sam said, "You should come visit me in Vancouver. It would be so fun. You can fly youth standby. $100 and an hour later you'll be there. You can stay with me at my parents' house." I was silent while I considered it. I just turned 19 and I felt like time was running out for me. The cafe where I was working kept giving me fewer hours. I was barely able to pay my rent. Thank goodness for the tips I made and the odd show I played for extra money. I always showed up for my morning shifts at 6 a.m., even if I was a bit drunk, and I paid for all the beer I drank when I fell asleep on the couch that one time. I did get in trouble with the manager for yelling outside the cafe when it was closed a week or so ago. I guess they heard me from their apartment, which was right above. And there was also dating. On top of the on-again, off-again thing with the mutual ex, I was kind of seeing someone who bullied me in junior high. Turned out they were also queer, but things would often get really bad between us when we'd be out drinking. I hadn't seen them since they threw a cordless phone at me and screamed that I was fucked up and should get help. I couldn't remember what I'd said to them, so I told them to get out of my house and lock the door behind them. After I paused, the sound of my window sliding open woke me up. They were sniffling and saying they loved me as they climbed in and fell to the floor. I played dead as they crawled into my bed and fell asleep with their arms thrown heavily around me. "I love you," they whispered before they passed out. I pretended to be asleep in the morning when they went to work. Anyway, no real reason to stay for either of them. "How will I find you in Vancouver?" I asked Sam. "Take this bus," they said, and scrawled with a pencil on a napkin. "It's the same name as the street it goes down." "Granville?" I asked. "Yeah, take it to Granville and Davie. And if you don't make your flight, you can call my parents' house collect at this number." They scrawled it on the other side of the napkin. "Otherwise, I'll be standing there waiting for you to get off the bus."
Yeah, so this story, many parts of her story are really familiar to me. As we were saying, we do have a lot of parallels. And I'll say, just in general, I'd say for most of what we're going to talk about, there should be a content warning for, a lot of these aspects of our lives are really normalized to us, and I think it also makes sense that sometimes we forget that not everyone has been through that. So generally, I don't, give content warnings when I'm like chatting with my friends because we've all kind of had similar things. But yeah, I'll give a warning that like my story definitely involves like suicidality and like in relation to trans stuff and lots of other things, and I think that's part of why it made sense for us to work together on this, because I read her story and I recognized all of the places in it. And yeah, like part of my artistic practice is that like working on this travel was really important. It's like been a really like part of how I stayed alive. And basically when I decided to move to Vancouver, hoping that if I was in a city center, I'd have more resources and it would get better, and sometimes it does, in many ways it has, but sometimes it doesn't. And for me, it really didn't for a very long time. But I also wanted to, like, as part of introducing myself, I was born in so-called Canada, and I'm also of mixed Romani and British heritage. So I'm claimed by my Vitsa, which is like Romachal, and they're basically like Roma people who assimilated into British society like a long time ago, like thousands of years ago. But very much so, many people still maintain our old ways of living and like bardos, also known as caravans. And I've moved around pretty constantly throughout my life, so I moved over 30 times before I was like 30. And yeah, I also just wanted to talk about how the pandemic has impacted like our ways of living, and I'm really curious about what that's like for younger people who might have lived in similar ways. So yeah.
Yeah, I really apologize. I should have done a content warning. I kind of have been going through this health journey that erased my memory of it. And I was like, oh, geez. Oh, yeah. It is normal, but yeah, it's normal to me. So then I was like, that's actually not as funny when I read. I've never read it out loud in front of people, actually. Not like on the internet. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's actually not. Anyway, I thought I'd play a song. This is a song about being in the hospital for over a year and 2 months, and I slowly got to know my nurses, but at the beginning, none of the staff, they seemed they had never heard of a trans person before, which I feel is very unbelievable in Victoria. That's not possible. But this song's called Open Heart, and it's a song about being in a conversation with people, and I kind of got to know them as they got to know me. And by the end of the time I was there, they were coming to other departments with me and standing up for me, and I think, it's just it's a hope. I also never played this on guitar. I'm not even playing guitar on this tour, but I was like, I have it in the car, and it's just like I'm going to do this now. It also is turning into country music, even though it's not that on the record. Nothing is more expensive than trying to keep an open heart. Sometimes it feels like dying, but we're holding up to grow a world apart. Actually, a lot of being sick in the hospital reminded me of this year of my life and coming out as trans and trying to convince people to be like, it's just like a couple things you do, Anyway, so this is probably a hope I've had since then too. Open heart, lead me wherever I go, and they'll never break me if I have an open heart. Nothing is more expensive than trying to change someone's heart. Hoping when they see we're hurting, we become human and they help us blow this place apart. That's the hope. Open heart, lead me wherever I go, and they'll never break me if I have an open heart. Open heart, lead me wherever I go, and they'll never break me if I have an open heart. When I music always factors like pretty large in the books that I write. Obviously, I always just try to write from experience so far. Someday I'd like to write fiction. That'll be fun. I mean, this is fiction. I started writing fiction for legal reasons. So this is a fictional story about a trans person that grew up in Alberta. My mom was from Bowden, not Rocky Mountain House. Okay. Anyway. This is like 8 pages long. Is that a long time to read? I guess
No.
Okay.
That's what you do.
Okay. I have severe ADHD, so I can't even get through a song usually without talking. So it's really fun to have ADHD though. It's just like it kind of affects my reading. Is actually the most challenging thing I have to do ever on stage or I had to quit drinking Red Bull when I started writing books because it was like it's not the same thing as because I just like I was from Alberta, it's like
Just lead by not asking. The videos when they're like that.
lead by yes exactly. So anyway, I thought I would read it through this part of the book, and yeah. And then maybe I'll just stop early, no one will know. And I'll start, and we'll talk about you. I find you very fascinating, though, so I also want to rush you. I'm like, tell me more. I don't know what's going on. I want to know everything. Okay. I didn't want Ricky to see me fight it out with my fear of heights, so I told him I was going to check out the view for a little longer. I waited 10 minutes, surveying the full circle of the illuminated cityscape around me. Then I called on every power I could think of and backed shakily through the hole in the roof. I lowered myself a bit and kicked into the dark, but my foot meant nothing. Has anybody ever had to, it's not accessible, like back onto a ladder in like a, you're like, I'm on the roof, this is so fun, and you're like, oh, this is fun. Anyway, you're like, oh. So easy to scramble up, it's not as easy to come back down, but anyway. I lowered myself a bit and kicked in the dark, but my foot meant nothing. I repeated the action what felt like countless times. Finally, the first ladder of the rung arrived like an epiphany, and the screams in my head converted to songs of a choir. I slowly backed down to the ground, one rung at a time. When I got to the bottom, I could hear voices from the other end of the room. The heights started to feel a little bit less scary compared to being around all those people, and I waited a moment and shuffled toward the sound. And the big group of people were circling. Earlier, I mentioned that there was a canvas on the floor in this place. That I was like, what's on this canvas? And they're like, well, a performance artist ate some pink and barked on it last night. So that's what the bark canvas is in the book. I noticed a group of people were circling the bark canvas and pointing at different parts. It's probably someone's going to come and be like, I was at this show. Someone had set up an old reclining chair, maybe from a dentist's office or barber shop, at the far end of the room. A person with pet tattoos was cleaning the whole thing with disposable wipes, and there was a beat-up old halogen lamp lighting the scene. Sam buzzed across the floor and grabbed my hand, and they chortled, come with me, pulling me downstairs to the second floor. They whispered, I'll be right back, and slipped away. People on all the couches were watching Jeff point his camcorder at the TV screen, and Jeff held court glowing with his discovery. A person discovered if you point a camcorder at a TV screen, it created like an infinite image, and it was like, try it sometime. It's like, wow. Anyway, he was very excited to discover it, and we all watched it. My palms started to sweat, and a person with long hair stood behind the counter, and there was a sign up that said beer, $3. I bought one, cracked it, and moved into the corner so I could watch everyone. Then I spotted Ricky. They were high-fiving a bunch of people on the couches. Sam made their way over to my corner from the bar. Having fun, they tipped their can into their mouth. Yeah, I did the same. I went to parties in high school where a bunch of art students from college showed up, but all they did was make fun of us and say weird things. And once one of them asked me if I was dressed up as obnoxious for Halloween. Sam almost spit out some beer. These people are a lot nicer, I said. They are, and I'm so happy to be back in Vancouver, not stuck in that private school at Shawnigan Lake. My parents are pissed, and now I'm at this alternative high school here. I should even graduate in less than a year late. Must have been sucked to be trapped out there, I said sympathetically. I'm glad you ran away and I got to meet you. Thanks for letting me stay at your house. No problem, you're gonna love it here. More and more people started arriving. I'd never really seen people like them before. There was no uniform look I could pin down, except they all seemed to be wearing whatever they wanted. I think most of them were artists. I heard words like, my practice, a bunch of times. I practiced playing my guitar a lot, but I never called it that. Ricky finished their rounds. Do you want to see what I'm setting up in my studio, they asked. Sure, just let me grab another beer, I said, crushing my can in my hand and feeling more confident. I put 3 loonies down on the counter and another one in the tip jar. Buying a drink without tipping was bad luck. Ricky led us to a door on the same floor and flicked an overhead light on in a windowless room. There were canvases against the wall and cans of spray paint on the floor with the clear garbage bag of empty cans in the corner. I'm working on a show, Ricky said, and pulled out some of the canvases for us to look at. They were different colors, but they all had magazine cutouts stuck to them. I'm not sure where I'm going to exhibit them, but Jeff might let me have this space to work until I figure it out. They're cool. I like your art practice, I said, wondering if I used the right word. They smiled. Thanks. Ricky, Sam piped up. Ricky plays music too. Cool, we should jam sometime. I was back in familiar territory. Music was all I really had left from growing up that I could still appreciate. Yeah, I'd like that, Ricky said. Ew, do you smell that? I walked up something besides paint had started to overtake the room. It smelled like burned hair with a sickly tinge of cooking meat. Oh, the branding must have started, Sam said. Why are they branding people anyway? I asked, feeling sheepish. It's like Jeff said, the person is letting the artist use their body as a living canvas. It's art, Ricky explained. I didn't understand, but against the feeling in my gut, I followed them both towards the awful smell. There were about 60 people upstairs now, and I learned to count groups of people rapidly when playing shows where I got paid per person. Most were gathered around a reclining chair, and the halogen lamp gave the scene an eerie alien autopsy feel. Ricky and Sam had scooted in the front to sit cross-legged on the floor, and I followed them. The person who'd been wiping down the chair earlier was wearing a mask and holding a soldering gun. All is impermanence, they proclaimed, turning to the crowd. Our bodies are just energy. We can do what we want with them. Then they leaned in and pushed the gun into the arm of the person in the chair, slowly tracing a line that had already been drawn with a pen. I heard the smallest crackle, and then my stomach turned. And I flashed back to junior high at the time when that kid brought in a jar full of bull's testicles after being out of their uncle's ranch all week castrating and branding bulls. The scarlet liquid in the jar had made me queasy, and the branding was starting to give me the same feeling. I didn't want to be so close to that kind of pain. The smell was building, and so was the tension on the face of the person in the chair. And I looked at my hands, and I started making guitar chord shapes on my leg. And then I stopped, because I thought maybe that would make it look weird. And I exhaled quietly, and I looked back up. The branding was going more slowly than I could handle. How long does it take to burn the shit out of someone's arm, I wonder? I often get really angry when I go back into a work. I'll be yelling stuff in my head. Anyway, I went and pulled out my beer and realized it was empty and I had to leave, or I was going to scream. I got a pee, I whispered to Sam. I tripped a little bit as I got up, but everyone was too focused on the soldering gun to notice. I started to feel dizzy and moved quickly down the stairs. I pulled the bathroom's door closed and fumbled with the lock. Leaning against the sink, I tried to catch myself, but then I heard the crackling sound, and when I looked at the toilet, it was the dirtiest one I'd ever seen. I dropped my beer can on the ground and puked all over the seat. Shit, I said in a liquid slur. I was used to throwing up when I went out with my friends, but that's because I could make myself do it on purpose to keep drinking. And when we'd all announce when we'd thrown up when we got back to our table at the bar, and everybody would just cheer and yell, drink, drink, drink. I wasn't even drunk right now, and I grabbed some paper towels, wet them, and wiped down the toilet seat. Most of the vomit blended in with whatever was already on it. I flushed, dried the seat off with some toilet paper, and sat down. My body was a bit closer to steady, but I could feel a panic attack coming on. I told myself I wasn't trapped anymore. I had a new beginning. No more parents or school or church. I could be anyone I wanted now. I should be happy, not feeling like I'm standing on a glass floor of a tall building. I embraced the idea and slowed my breath down. I cracked the door and walked back up to the couches. Jeff was at the bar. You okay? I must have been a little green. Yeah, I'm tired. I just moved here today. From where? Calgary. Oh, that's a rough town. I hitchhiked through there once during the stampede and almost got my legs knocked out a few times, Jeff said. Well, we better celebrate. Have a beer on me. Thanks, I said, grabbing it off the counter. Mind if I sit down? Sure. They wiped some of the ash off the bar onto the floor with a dirty washcloth. I pulled the ashtray from the coffee table into the arm of my chair and held the beer on my knee, and I established a holding pattern, like I would on any other night in the bar. Smoke a couple cigarettes, drink a beer, repeat. The panic slowly sloshed down my throat to wherever the beer went in my body. And I started to feel at home in the chair, like I'd always been there. People trickled in downstairs after the branding, sat on the chairs around me, and I talked to them with ease. I was charming and they liked me. I couldn't remember their names after they told me, but I began to feel like I could understand what people were talking about. Eventually I felt a new warmth on my side and realized that Ricky was leaning into me as they talked to someone behind me. I could feel their back to the perforated fabric of their football jersey. I tried not to move or breathe in case they weren't doing it on purpose. Slowly people started to leave. Sam seemed to have met some cute smiley person with short hair, and they kept disappearing and coming back together. When the room was almost empty, Sam came up to me and talked low in my ear. Hey, I know it's your first night in town, but do you mind if I keep hanging out with this person? My adrenaline spiked. I hated walking alone at night. I've been chased too often around my mom's neighborhood in Calgary by kids who knew I was queer. I flicked my cigarette to cover up my shaking hands. Sure, I said steadily as I could. Ricky can walk you back. They were going to stay over anyway. My adrenaline cross-lated from lightning to my legs into bugs into my stomach. My side was just cooling off where Ricky had been leaning against me before they went to the washroom. Yeah, sure, I said. I hope you two have fun.
That made me excited about illustrating the story was like how real it was the way you described the various like class backgrounds of people in the book. Because when I was like a street kid for a long time, and I never considered myself a punk, but I ended up in these like punk adjacent spaces. And everybody there, I used to call them crust funds.
Crust what?
Crust funds.
Oh, crust.
Because you have the most expensive jeans and you always have money for beer, but you intentionally put rips in things and undo the seams of your clothes and stitch them back up. And, I was like, I just look like this because I can't afford like those nice jeans you're wearing. But nobody talked honestly about the money they had. But I think a huge part of why I was able to survive was because I had the runoff from their class privilege, and we were kind of united in our substance use, and we were searching for the same place, and we were united in other ways too, like queerness and like wanting to be together. But yeah, nobody ever talked honestly about that, and I just loved hearing this person being like, oh, that terrible private school I was at.
I think I didn't understand that. I was like, that's just as bad as like my punk. Like I was like, that sucks. I just felt like everybody had. I was like, yeah. There was definitely. I really didn't know I was working class line in Vancouver. I just was like, why am I swearing so much? Everybody seems mad at me. I'm so loud. I've got friends in the place. Yeah, that thing. So, yeah, I didn't know that. So it's really interesting, and I wonder right now. I think a lot about if someone was starting right now, the way I started here, if they arrived when they were 20 and they wanted to play music or write books, and if they came from certain class backgrounds, like how that would work out. Or I think there's a lot of privilege I have. I think that's definitely privilege factors more into like the things I got to do than Black Hair Talent. I wonder, I really think a lot about how to make spaces and think about how, like if I was disabled like I am now, how I could maybe find those folks and be like, maybe help make spots for them to play, or just like, just try to figure out how to build community now and think about youth who are in that position right now. So,
Well, I feel like that's something you're actually trying to do.
That's something I'm trying to do now. So, so this song is called Living More, and I had some I made Rhizo posters instead of like print CDs or vinyl for this album. Mostly because those things are heavy. I have them here. They're by donation. So, my album is called Not Dead Yet, and I thought a lot about being so on the nose after having like a cancer. It was not a cancer scare. Someone was like, "Remember your cancer scare?" I was like, "That was not a cancer scare. That was a cancer horror film." No, it was fine. But yeah, it's just. Still a cowboy. Anyway, but I moved to Montreal a little bit over a year ago, and I was not even sure if I could sing. I had just been sick for a long time. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to sing. Like, I don't think ability is identity. Like, I'm not a singer. Sometimes I can sing, and there's going to be times in the future where I can't sing, and there's been times where I can't perform, and I can't. I'm not a performer like as a man, So. Yeah, but it was really fun, and I got to make this album. And I just write. I do these things because it helps me a lot. That's what I don't know. I hadn't seen. Yeah, survival. And I also hadn't seen a lot of art projects like albums by people who had cancer. Like I've heard some that are great by like folks who are caretakers or around. But anyway, So the song's called Living More. And I figured out, I thought having a partner, like a romantic partner, was like a really good bet to like replace your blood family, but in my case that didn't work as well. So it turned out that my friends, I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out. But the concentrated experience of having like such like really fast medical stuff during the beginning of the pandemic really like clarified to me where the support is in my life and where I want to put my energy. So this is that's sort of about that. You showed up like a pop song that said pop songs on my album. I'm like, are these all country songs? I don't need you tease, I don't need you door. I don't need an anchor anymore. Since I almost died, I've been living more. You thought you were a gift, but Orpha was lonely. Mixed that bell was always gonna ring. Found out love means different things, but I don't have to get caught in blaming you for not. You thought you burned down my house, but I found my own way out. Since anyone who's almost died, since I almost died, I've been living more. I don't need your tears, I don't need your door. I don't need an anchor anymore. Since I almost died, I've been living more. One more time. Since I almost died, I've been living more. I don't need your tears, I don't need your door. I don't need an anchor anymore. Since I almost died, I've been living more. Thanks for letting me sing. Oh dear. Yeah, I'll just sing. I'm gonna read one more thing, and then maybe we'll chat a bit, and then I have like a final song kind of thing. But yeah. Thanks for letting me. I'm just so happy. Like I'm going around singing this, like, or in top, like singing this album and stuff, and then like it was like so rough, but I'm so happy. I'm just like bouncing on the walls. I'm just like, yeah. Like, I don't know. It was like, this is awesome. I don't know. Anyway, this is awesome. I don't really know why I'm so happy, but I'm not going to think about it a lot. Yeah, I guess I didn't know I would ever get to like read from this book in front of people or play shows. So
every day we got this.
Yeah, I just say I'm in overtime, so I'm like, woo, you know, it's just overtime. And also, I don't have to have a midlife crisis. I really get to skip that, so that's nice. Anyway, I'm not trying to be toxic responsible.
I really appreciate that as someone with a bit of a platform, you're using that to kind of lead spaces like this. Like you were saying, there's like a lot of community solidarity with like abolitionists, and these are the places that I'm seeing that happen. And while it's, you know, it's good to acknowledge the scary stuff and like, yeah, I can't believe the oncology unit doesn't mask. And also, we are doing stuff like this, and it's both at the same time.
Yeah, of course. So I don't know. I thought, well, you know, just try to play outside and see how it goes. So that's what happened. Anyway, I'm on my way back to Alberta, which I clearly love it there. And I don't know. I get to when you get to write your story. That's to me that's a huge privilege that it was published and I got to write it. And actually, when this book came out, I had a really hard time coming to Vancouver until it came out because I had all these ghosts, you know. And now I come in and I'm like, ghost town. I'm having the best time. I'm haunted. I forgive myself and everyone else, and I'm looking forward to being here more often and yeah, just seeing what can be built. So this is a song I wrote in 2007 when I saw a forest fire. It was like really, really far away on a mountain, and I mean, I think the song could be called "What Is It Gonna Take for People in Power to Change What the Heck Is Going On." Yeah, I'm gonna sing it now. I'm gonna drive to Lethbridge tomorrow. So. And I was kind of, I was thinking a lot about ongoing colonialism and how I was not asking enough questions to myself about what was going on and why I had what I had. So I thought I'd ask questions to other people But then I had this really long folk song and no one listened to me, so I hid it inside this indie rock song. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming, and thanks so much, Jim, for just being you and all that. I don't know. Oh dear. I'm actually just going to make them get in the car. No, come on,
Right.
sit next to me every time. Okay. I hear the call from the suburbs down to the plateau. The kids know how to stand. Cover your eyes with both hands, looking for a new song. Ooh, 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 looking for a new song. Ooh, ooh, come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. Come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. Just thought, what happened if the forest fires went, like where are the people in charge were? I'm scared we have the answer now. Are you standing on your parents' shoulders, boats across the ocean? Are we standing on our parents' shoulders? Missionaries that never went home, are they standing on their parents' shoulders? Wagons in a row, are they standing on their parents' shoulders? Churches built from bones, come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. Come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. Ask the colonial ghosts, they live in your bones. Ask the colonial ghosts, they live in your bones. Ask the colonial ghosts what they took. Ask the colonial ghosts what they're still taking. Sometimes it's a surprise reveal for the audience who have been dancing to this one. Everything. You're dancing on it. Oh, we're dancing on it. Oh, we're dancing on it. Oh, we're dancing on it. Come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. Come on, forest fire, burn the disco down. They have books, they have copies of Green Glass Ghosts for sale. Thanks for supporting Massy Arts. And I think, Danita, do you mind holding up the poster of my face? Anyway, I'm surprised. Those are my donations. If you grab them for whatever you want. Yeah, that's what my face looks like. Yes,
Also, I need you to know that I had the pleasure of being a makeup artist for that photo shoot. And I painted those words, "not dead yet," right directly onto Rae's chest. It was paint made by neem paints from wild rose pigment and plant sap. It was, anyway, feelings.
Okay, anything else that folks from the venue need to say? Very good.
Feel free to come on over and grab a book if you'd like. Feel free, we have lots of time for you to chat. Take your time. No
Great.
problem. Space quickly. Enjoy.
Oh, thanks so much for having us.